Surah 18, Al-Kahf, the Cave. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Praise be to God, who has sent to his servant the book, and has allowed therein no crookedness. He has made it straight, to warn of severe punishment from him, and to give good tidings to the believers who do righteous deeds, that they will have a good reward, in which they will remain forever. And to warn those who say, God has taken a son. They have no knowledge of it, nor had their fathers. Grave is the word that comes out of their mouths. They speak not except a lie. But perhaps, are you going to worry yourself to death over them, if they do not believe in this message? We have adorned the earth with attractive things, so that we may test people, to find out which of them do best. But we shall reduce all this to barren dust. Or have you thought about the companions of the cave, and the inscription were among our signs, a wonder, when those youths took refuge in the cave, and said, Our Lord, grant us mercy from yourself, and guide us rightly through our ordeal. So we cast a cover of sleep over their ears within the cave for a number of years. Then we woke them, so that we could make clear which of the two parties was better able to work out how long they had been there. We shall tell you their story as it really was. They were young men who believed in their Lord, and we gave them more and more guidance. We gave strength to their hearts when they stood up and said, Our Lord is the Lord of the heavens and earth. We shall never call upon any god other than him, for that would be an outrageous thing to do. These people of ours have taken gods other than him. Why do they not produce clear evidence about them? Who could be more unjust than someone who makes up lies about God? Now that you have left such people, and what they worshipped instead of God, take refuge in the cave. God will shower his mercy on you, and make you an easy way out of your ordeal. You could have seen the sun as it rose, moving away to the right of their cave, and when it set, moving away to the left of them, while they lay in the wide space inside the cave. This is one of God's signs. Those people God guides are rightly guided, but you will find no protector to lead to the right path those he leaves to stray. And you would think them awake while they were asleep, and we turn them to the right and to the left, while their dog stretched his forelegs at the entrance. If you had looked at them, you would have turned from them in flight and been filled by them with terror. In time, we woke them, and they began to question one another. One of them asked, How long have you been here? And some answered, A day, or part of a day. But then they said, Your Lord knows best how long you have been here. One of you go into the city with your silver coins, find out where the best food is there, and bring some back, but be careful not to let anyone know about you. Indeed, if they come to know of you, they will stone you or return you to their religion, and never would you succeed then, ever. That is how we caused them to be discovered, so that their people might know that God's promise is true, and that there is no doubt about the hour when the people disputed with each other about the case of the youth after their death. Some proposed, build a structure around them, their God knows best about them. Those who prevailed in the matter said, We will surely build a place of worship over them. Some say, The sleepers were 3, and their dog made 4. Others say, There were 5, and their dog made 6. Guessing in the dark. And some say, There were 7, and their dog made 8. Say, My Lord knows best about how many there were. Only a few have real knowledge about them. So do not argue, but stick to what is clear, and do not ask any of these people about them. And never say of anything, Indeed, I will do that tomorrow, without adding, If God wills. And whenever you forget, remember your Lord, and say, May my Lord guide me closer to what is right. And they remained in their cave for 300 years, adding 9. Say, God is most knowing of how long they remained. He has knowledge of the unseen, of the heavens and the earth. How seeing is he, and how hearing? They have not besides him any protector, and he shares not his legislation with anyone. Recite what has been revealed to you from the book of your Lord. None can change his words, nor can you find any refuge besides him. Content yourself with those who pray to their Lord morning and evening, seeking his approval. And do not let your eyes turn away from them out of desire for the attractions of this worldly life. Do not yield to those hearts we have made heedless of our remembrance. Those who follow their own low desires, those whose ways are unbridled, and say, "The truth is from your Lord, so whoever wills, let him believe, and whoever wills, let him disbelieve. Indeed, we have prepared for the wrongdoers a fire whose walls will surround them, and if they call for relief, they will be relieved with water like murky oil, which scalds their faces. Wretched is the drink, and evil is the resting place. As for those who believe and do good deeds, we will not let the reward of anyone who does a good deed go to waste. It is they who will have the gardens of eternity, with rivers flowing under their feet. They will be adorned with bracelets of gold and wear green garments of fine silk and rich brocade, reclining there on canopied couches. What a marvellous reward, and what a fabulous place to rest. Tell them the parable of 2 men. For one of them, we made 2 gardens of grapevines, surrounded them with date palms, and put cornfields in between. Each garden yielded all its produce, never falling short. And we caused a river to flow between them, and he had other resources as well. So he said to a companion of his, while conversing with him, "I am greater than you in wealth and superior in manpower." He went into his garden and wronged himself by saying, "I do not think this will ever perish, and I do not think the hour will come. And even if I should be brought back to my Lord, I will surely find better than this as a return." His companion replied, while conversing with him, "Do you disbelieve in the one who created you from dust, then developed you from a sperm drop, then formed you into a man? But as for me, he is God, my Lord, and I do not associate with my Lord anyone. And why did you, when you entered your garden, not say, 'What God willed has occurred. There is no power except in God'? Although you see me less than you in wealth and children, my Lord may well give me something better than your garden, and send thunderbolts on your garden from the sky, so that it becomes a heap of barren dust, or its water may sink so deep into the ground that you will never be able to reach it again." And so it was. His fruit was completely destroyed, and there he was, wringing his hands over what he had invested in it, as it drooped on its trellises, and saying, "I wish I had not set up any partner to my Lord." And there was for him no company to aid him other than God, nor could he defend himself. In that situation, the only protection is that of God, the true God. He gives the best rewards and the best outcome. And present to them the example of the life of this world. It is like rain which we send down from the sky, and the vegetation of the earth mingles with it, and it becomes dry remnants, scattered by the winds. And God is ever, over all things, perfect in ability. Wealth and children are but adornment of the worldly life, but the enduring good deeds are better to your Lord, for reward, and better for hope. And warn of the day when we will remove the mountains, and you will see the earth exposed, and we will gather them, and not leave behind from them anyone, and they will be presented before your Lord in rows, and he will say, "You have certainly come to us just as we created you the first time, but you claimed that we would never make for you an appointment." The record of their deeds will be laid open, and you will see the guilty, dismayed at what they contain, saying, "Woe to us! What a record this is!" It does not leave any deed, small or large, unaccounted for. They will find everything they ever did laid in front of them. Your Lord will not be unjust to anyone. And when we said to the angels, "Prostrate to Adam," they prostrated, except for Iblis. He was of the jinn and departed from the command of his Lord. Then will you take him and his descendants as allies, other than me, while they are enemies to you? Wretched it is for the wrongdoers as an exchange. I did not make them witness to the creation of the heavens and the earth, or to the creation of themselves, and I would not have taken the misguiders as assistants. On the day, God will say, "Call on those you claimed were my partners." They will call them, but they will not answer. We shall set a deadly gulf between them. The evildoers will see the fire, and they will realize that they are about to fall into it. They will find no escape from it. We have surely explained this Qur'an, every kind of lesson for people, but humankind is the most argumentative of all beings, and nothing prevents people from believing when guidance comes to them, and from seeking their Lord's forgiveness, except their demand to meet the same fate of earlier deniers, or that the torment would confront them face to face. We only send messengers to bring good news and to deliver warning, yet the disbelievers seek to refute the truth with false arguments and to make fun of my messages and warnings. And who does more wrong than those who, when reminded of their Lord's revelations, turn away from them and forget what their own hands have done? We have certainly cast veils over their hearts, leaving them unable to comprehend this Qur'an, and deafness in their ears. And if you invite them to guidance, they will never be guided. Your Lord is the most forgiving and full of mercy. If he took them to task for the wrongdoings they have done, he would hasten their punishment on. They have an appointed time from which they will have no escape. And those cities, we destroyed them when they wronged, and we made for their destruction an appointed time. Moses said to his servant, "I will not rest until I reach the place where the two seas meet, even if it takes me years." But when they reached the place where the two seas meet, they had forgotten all about their fish, which had made its way into the sea and swam away. When they had passed further, he said to his servant, "Bring us our meal. We have certainly been exhausted by today's journey." And the servant said, "Remember when we were resting by the rock? I forgot the fish. Satan made me forget to pay attention to it, and it must have made its way into the sea. How strange!" Moses said. "Then that was the place we were looking for." So the two turned back, retraced their footsteps, and they found a servant from among our servants to whom we had given mercy from us, and had taught him from us a certain knowledge. Moses said to him, "May I follow you on the condition that you teach me from what you have been taught of sound judgment?" He said, "Indeed, with me you will never be able to have patience. How could you be patient in matters beyond your knowledge?" Moses said, "You will find me, if God wills, patient, and I will not disobey you in any order." The man said, "If you follow me then, do not query anything I do before I mention it to you myself." So they set out, but after they had boarded a ship, the man made a hole in it. Moses protested, "Have you done this to drown its people? You have certainly done a terrible thing," he replied. "Did I not say that with me you would never be able to have patience?" Moses said, "Forgive me for forgetting. Do not make it too hard for me to follow you." So they proceeded until they came across a boy, and the man killed him. Moses protested, "Have you killed an innocent soul who killed no one? You have certainly done a horrible thing," he said. "Did I not tell you that with me you would never be able to have patience?" Moses replied, "If I ever question you about anything after this, then do not keep me in your company, for by then I would have given you enough of an excuse." So they moved on, until they came to the people of a town. They asked them for food, but the people refused to give them hospitality. There they found a wall, ready to collapse. So the man set it right. Moses protested. "If you wanted, you could have demanded a fee for this." He said, "This is where you and I part company. I will tell you the meaning of the things you could not bear with patiently. As for the ship, it belonged to poor people working at sea. So I intended to cause damage in it, as there was after them a king who seized every good ship by force. And as for the boy, his parents were believers, and we feared that he would overburden them by transgression and disbelief. So we desired that their Lord would give them in exchange a son, better in purity and closer in affection. The wall belonged to 2 young orphans in the town, and there was buried treasure beneath it belonging to them. Their father had been a righteous man, so your Lord intended them to reach maturity and then to dig up their treasure as a mercy from your Lord. I did not do these things of my own accord. These are the explanation for those things you could not bear with patience." They ask you about Zulkarnain. Say, "I will relate to you something of his story. We established his power in the land and gave him the means to achieve everything. He travelled on a certain road until he reached the setting of the sun, which appeared to him to be setting in a spring of murky water, where he found some people. We said, 'O Zulkarnain, either punish them or treat them kindly.' He answered, 'We shall punish those who have done evil, and when they are returned to their Lord, he will punish them even more severely. While those who believed and did good deeds will have the best of rewards. We shall command them to do what is easy for them.' He travelled on. Then, when he came to the rising of the sun, he found it rising on a people for whom we had provided no shelter from it. And so it was. We knew all about him. He travelled on, until when he reached a pass between 2 mountains, he found beside them a people who could hardly understand his speech. They said, 'O Zulkarnain, Gog and Magog are ruining this land. Will you build a barrier between them and us if we pay you a tribute?' He responded, 'What my Lord has provided for me is far better, but assist me with resources and I will build a barrier between you and them. Bring me blocks of iron.' Then, when he had filled up the gap between the 2 mountains, he ordered, 'Blow!' When the iron became red hot, he said, 'Bring me molten copper to pour over it.' Their enemies could not scale the barrier, nor could they pierce it. He said, 'This is a mercy from my Lord. But when the promise of my Lord comes to pass, he will make it into dust, and the promise of my Lord is true. On that day we shall let them surge against each other like waves, and then the trumpet will be blown, and we shall gather them all together, and we will present hell that day to the disbelievers on display. Those whose eyes had been within a cover removed from my remembrance, and they were not able to hear. Do the disbelievers think that they can take my servants as lords instead of me? We have surely prepared hell as an accommodation for the disbelievers. Say, shall we tell you who will be the ones who are losers by their actions? Those whose efforts have been wasted in this life, while they thought that they were acquiring good by their works. It is those who disbelieve in their Lord's messages and deny that they will meet him. Their deeds come to nothing. On the day of resurrection, we will give them no weight. That is their reward, hell, for their disbelief and mockery of my signs and messengers. But those who believe and do good deeds will be given the gardens of paradise. There they will remain, never wishing to leave. Say, if the whole ocean were ink for writing the words of my Lord, it would run dry before those words were exhausted, even if we were to add another ocean to it. Say, I am only a human being like you, to whom it has been revealed that your God is one. Anyone who fears to meet his Lord should do good deeds and give no one a share in the worship due to his Lord. Surah Al-Kahf, the Cave. Period of Revelation. This is believed to be the first of the surahs sent down in the 3rd stage of prophethood in Mecca. We have divided the life of the prophet at Mecca into 4 stages. The first stage was the appointment of the messenger and the proclamation of prophethood. The second stage is where the opposition of other people started. Gangs formed that persecuted the poor and needy Muslims. The third stage is where the evil against Muslims increased. There was savage persecution and boycotts of the Muslims, and some migrated to Abyssinia, now known as Ethiopia. The fourth stage was a period of hard trials and suffering for the Prophet and the Muslims. Life became unbearable in Mecca, and God made a way for the Prophet to migrate to Yathrib, now known as Medina. It appears from the theme of Surah Al-Kahf, the cave, that it was revealed at the beginning of the third stage, where despite the persecution and opposition the Muslims faced in Mecca, the migration to Abyssinia had not yet happened. That is why the story of the sleepers of the cave had been related, to comfort and encourage the persecuted Muslims, and to show them how righteous people in history had been preserving their faith. Subject and topics. This chapter was sent down to answer 3 questions the disbelievers, Jews and Christians of Mecca put to the Prophet, which were: who were the sleepers of the cave? What is the real story of Khidr? What do you know about Zulkarnain? These questions relate to the history of the Christians and Jews and were unknown in the Arabian Peninsula, so they were being used to test the knowledge revealed to the Prophet to see if it was divine. God informed the Prophet of the complete answer to these questions and also used the stories in conflict between Islam and unbelief. The questioners were told that the sleepers of the cave believed in the same belief that there is only one God, and that their condition was similar to the persecuted Muslims in Mecca. Also, those that persecuted the sleepers of the cave behaved in the same way as the disbelievers of the Quraysh behaved towards the Muslims. This story is a warning to the chiefs of Mecca, and they were also warned not to be distracted by the temporary life and to seek the eternal life of the hereafter. The Prophet was also instructed not to compromise with those who persecuted the Muslims, and not to consider the chiefs of Mecca more important than his own followers. We are encouraged to read Surah Al-Kahf every Friday. According to authentic hadith, whoever reads this surah on a Friday will have a light that will shine from him from one Friday to the next.